Daddy, don't marry her! The scream tore through the wedding hall like lightning splitting the sky. The drums stopped. The choir fell silent. All eyes darted toward the tiny figure standing at the back. A little girl, barefoot, trembling, yet bold enough to challenge a billionaire's wedding. "If you say I do, she'll bury you tonight," she cried again, her voice shaking but sure. Gasps erupted from the guests. Phones came out. Murmurs filled the air. Who is she? Did she say bury him? Where's security? At the altar, Mr. Kola Ajayi, the groom, the famous businessman everyone envied, stood frozen, staring at the little girl, while his wife-to-be Eva, the love of his life, also stared in shock. Besties, what happened next will leave you speechless, because not all weddings end with happily ever after. Sit tight and watch the full story in full now. On that bright Saturday morning, the church compound was bubbling with excitement. The choir was rehearsing their final chorus. The ushers were adjusting ribbons and flowers, and relatives were whispering gossip as if it was their last chance before heaven closed the gate. Inside the church, everyone was waiting for the bride, a woman the entire community called Madam Perfect. But among all those smiling faces, one person wasn't smiling. Her name was Zuri, a bold 8-year-old girl with eyes too sharp to be deceived and a tongue that never feared the truth. And today, on what was supposed to be her father's happiest day, Zuri was about to do something no one expected. Something that would make the drums stop beating and the whole wedding freeze mid-dance. The wedding begins. "Daddy, you look handsome," Zuri whispered, tugging at her father's sleeve. Her father, Mr. Kola Ajayi, beamed like a new groom should, in his designer suit and a face full of dreams. He chuckled, patting her head. "Thank you, my princess. You're the best flower girl a man could ever ask for." But Zuri didn't smile back. She kept staring at him, her small fingers clutching her basket of petals tightly, as if her life depended on them. Then the keyboard started playing "Here Comes the Bride." Everyone jumped to their feet, their eyes fixed on the wide-open doors. And there she was, Madame Eva, floating down the aisle like a queen who just won a beauty pageant. Her gown sparkled, her makeup glowed, and her perfume was fighting the Holy Spirit for attention. She smiled sweetly at everyone, especially Kola. But Zuri's eyes didn't blink. She had seen behind that smile before, and she knew it wasn't sugar. It was pepper disguised as honey. Flashback. The day Eva entered their lives. Zuri remembered clearly the day her father brought Eva home. It was a Sunday afternoon after church. Her father had been unusually cheerful all week, humming love songs while brushing his teeth and smiling at his phone as if he'd just discovered a new app that prints money. When they got home, there she was, Eva, sitting in the living room like she already owned the place. Her long wig was shining like a snake. Her nails were longer than a lizard's tail, and her smile, oh, that smile was sugar-coated thunder. "Zuri, meet Miss Eva," her father said proudly. "She's someone special." Eva bent down and hugged Zuri. "Oh, I've heard so much about you. You're such a beautiful little girl," she cooed. Zuri smiled shyly, but something in her small heart whispered, "Be careful." And true to that whisper, Eva's sweetness ended the moment her father left the room. When the mask fell at first, Zuri thought she was imagining things. Eva would smile at Daddy, laugh at all his dry jokes, and pretend to be gentle like a dove. But the moment he stepped out, her face would tighten like spoiled pap. "Zuri, don't scatter my carpet with your toys. Zuri, close your mouth when you chew. Zuri, stop looking at me like that. You think I'm your mate?" Zuri tried to behave. She tried to be the polite little girl her father always bragged about. But Eva's tongue was sharper than a tailor's needle. One evening, her father was working late, and Eva was supposed to watch her. Zuri spilled a small cup of juice on the center table by mistake. Before she could say, "I'm sorry," Eva had already grabbed her arm so hard that it left red marks. "You useless child," she hissed. If you spoil anything in this house again, you'll regret ever being born. You hear me?" Zuri nodded, her heart pounding. She cleaned up the mess quietly, tears sliding down her cheeks. When her father came home that night, Eva served him food and knelt down sweetly like the world's best fiancée. Zuri watched from the corner, rubbing her sore arm, wondering how one person could switch faces so fast. Trying to speak up. Weeks later, Zuri tried to tell her father the truth. "Daddy," she whispered one night while he was reading his Bible, "Miss Eva doesn't like me." Kola looked up, smiling softly. "Ah, Zuri, don't say that. Eva loves you. She's just trying to help me take care of you." "No, Daddy," Zuri insisted. "She shouts at me. But before she could finish, Kola chuckled and waved his hand. "You know, change can be hard. You're just missing your mummy, that's all." Zuri sighed. He didn't believe her. He didn't even want to believe her. From that day she stopped complaining. She stayed quiet, watched and waited. But deep down she knew that silence never kills the truth. It only makes it louder when it finally speaks. After Zuri's father, Mr. Kola Ajayi, got carried away in the whirlwind of wedding plans, he started missing little things. Small but important things. He didn't notice that his once cheerful daughter had turned quiet like a broken drum. He didn't see how her eyes had lost their usual sparkle. He didn't even notice how she now avoided Eva's hugs like a chicken avoiding boiling water. To him, Zuri was just getting used to change. To Eva, however, the silence was her victory song. By now, she had grown comfortable. Maybe too comfortable. In front of Kola, she was the sweetest fiancée in Lagos, gentle voice, fake humility, even helping out in church activities so that everyone would say, "Ah, that woman is heaven sent." But the moment Kola stepped out or picked a call, her eyes would harden like roasted groundnuts. She had that look that could peel yam. And with Kola busy and love-blind, Eva started feeling untouchable. She treated Zuri like an unwanted house guest, sometimes mocking her drawings, other times pretending not to hear her when she spoke. "Zuri, you didn't wash your hands properly." "Zuri, stop breathing so loud." "Zuri, close that mouth before flies rent it." The poor girl had turned into a ghost in her own father's house. Then, one sunny afternoon, Zuri was on her way to get a snack when she heard voices coming from the living room. Eva was there, speaking to her best friend, Titi, the kind of friend that looked like she carried gossip in her handbag. "Girl, I don't know how you're coping," Titi said with a laugh. "Playing stepmother to someone else's Pekin? God forbid bad thing. If Nami, that child go donde boarding school since." Zuri froze near the corridor. Her small heart pounded. Eva's fake sweet voice replied, Ah. My dear, it's not easy, oh. But you know how love is. You take the good with the bad. Zuri is part of the package, a small price to pay." They both laughed. Zuri's eyes burned with tears. Part of the package? Was that all she was, an unwanted extra, like pepper seeds in stew? She ran back to her room quietly, pushing away her appetite. The puff she wanted suddenly felt like sand. A few days later, the night air was quiet except for the croaking of frogs outside. Zuri couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned until she finally decided to sneak into the kitchen for water. She tiptoed down the hallway, wearing her pink pajamas with cartoon cats. Just as she passed the living room, she heard Eva's voice, low, sharp, and angry. Her tone wasn't the sweet, gentle one she used on Daddy. This one sounded like a woman plotting evil. "Mark, you better listen to me!" she snapped into her phone. Zuri froze behind the wall, holding her breath. Eva was pacing back and forth like a lioness, ready to pounce. Her wig was slightly off-center, her face tight with frustration. "We have to be careful," she hissed. "Everything must go as planned. Once the wedding is done, we move to phase 2. Zuri frowned. "Phase 2? Then Eva said something that made Zuri's small hands tremble. "Yes, the insurance. He doesn't suspect a thing. Once I marry him, we'll get the money and disappear." Zuri blinked. "Insurance? Money?" She wanted to step back, but her legs refused to move. David is an easy target. Eva continued. He's madly in love. That child, though, she's too sharp for her age. Always watching me. Don't worry, I'll handle her. Once we collect the money, we vanish. No more scams, no more running. This one is our jackpot. Zuri's eyes widened. Her lips trembled. So she was right. Eva wasn't just wicked. She was dangerous. And she was planning something against her father. Something about insurance and a plan. Her heart thumped so loudly she was sure Eva would hear it. Eva ended the call, sighing deeply. 2 weeks after the wedding, we strike, she muttered to herself. He'll never see it coming. Zuri dashed back to her room, diving under her blanket, shaking from head to toe. She didn't fully understand what insurance meant, but one thing was clear. Eva was planning something bad, and her father had no idea. The next morning, Kola sat at the table, eating yam and egg sauce while Eva smiled and poured him juice. Zuri came down slowly, eyes swollen from lack of sleep. "Good morning, my sunshine," Kola greeted, ruffling her hair. "You look tired. Did you dream too much?" Zuri forced a small smile. "I couldn't sleep, Daddy." Eva giggled sweetly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, poor dear, she's just excited about the wedding. Aren't you, Zuri?" Zuri looked up at her. Their eyes met for half a second, and in that moment she saw it, the real Eva, cold, dangerous and fake. She swallowed hard and nodded. "Yes, Ma, excited." Eva winked, satisfied, and continued smiling like a serpent in lace. From that day, Zuri became alert. She watched Eva like a hawk. Every time Eva picked up her phone, Zuri listened. She noticed how Eva always locked her screen quickly when Kola entered the room. "Oh, just chatting with the wedding planner," she'd say, flashing a fake smile. But Zuri saw the truth. She saw the message notifications that popped up briefly. From someone saved as M, Zuri's small mind didn't know much, but she knew M wasn't short for Mommy. Sometimes Eva would disappear for hours. "Just a little wedding errand," she'd chirp. Other times she'd say, "The tailor needs me," or bridesmaid drama, you know women. But Zuri wasn't buying it. Each time she took mental notes. She didn't know how yet, but she was determined to save her father, even if he didn't believe her. A week before the wedding, Kola and Zuri were in the backyard fixing the generator. Eva drove in hurriedly, eyes darting like someone with secrets under her wig. She didn't even wave at them, just stormed inside the house. Zuri excused herself. "Daddy, I want to get a drink." "Bring me malt, eh?" Kola said, not looking up from his wrench. Zuri tiptoed inside. She could hear Eva's voice from upstairs, sharp, low, angry. "Mark, calm down," she snapped. "We're almost there. Don't start acting foolish." Zuri crept closer, avoiding the creaky step. Eva was in the guest room, soon to be her father's bedroom after marriage. "Listen, the plan is perfect," Eva said. "Once we marry, everything becomes easy. The policy is airtight. A small accident here, a crying widow there, and we're rich." Zuri froze. A small accident? Her stomach twisted. Was Eva planning to hurt Daddy? She leaned closer to the door and accidentally brushed it. It gave a soft creak. The talking stopped instantly. Zuri's heart jumped into her throat. A chair scraped. Footsteps. Eva's voice dropped, sharp as a blade. "Hold on, I'll call you back." Zuri darted into the nearest door, the bathroom. Moments later, Eva stepped into the hallway. Her heels clicked slowly, pausing outside the bathroom. Zuri held her breath. After a few seconds, Eva walked away. Zuri exhaled, tears in her eyes. Now she was sure. Eva and that man were plotting something deadly. But how could she tell Daddy? He didn't believe her before. If she spoke now, Eva might twist it again. Zuri sank to the floor, whispering to herself, "God, please help me. Don't let anything happen to Daddy." In the days that followed, Zuri became a silent warrior, watching, listening, planning. Eva thought she was winning. But Zuri was no ordinary child. She was waiting for the right moment. A moment when everyone would finally see the real face behind that perfect smile. That evening, the compound was unusually quiet. The hum of the generator filled the air as little Zuri, in her pink nightgown, tiptoed down the corridor looking for her sketchbook. But as she neared the study, she heard a faint click, the sound of a laptop closing too fast. "Ah!" A startled voice gasped. It was Auntie Eva, her father's soon-to-be bride. Eva quickly straightened herself, forcing a nervous laugh. "Zuri, you nearly gave me heart attack, oh. What are you doing sneaking around like a cat? I was just checking wedding RSVPs. Zuri stared at her, blinking. "At night?" "Yes, at night. People can check things at night, Abby." Eva snapped before softening her tone with fake sweetness. "Go and sleep, darling. Big day tomorrow." But as Eva left, Zuri's sharp eyes caught the faint glow of the laptop screen. Curiosity tugged at her. Something about Eva's jumpiness didn't sit right. She went closer and tapped the keyboard. The system was locked, but she knew Daddy's password, her own birthday. Typical Daddy move. When the laptop opened, one tab stood out. It was a website for a life insurance company. Zuri frowned. Insurance? She clicked through but couldn't understand much. All she saw were strange words like beneficiary, accidental death, and a number that nearly made her heart stop. 3.5 billion. Her small hands trembled. Is this the policy Auntie Eva was whispering about on the phone that night? Before she could dig further, she heard footsteps coming. She slammed the laptop shut and grabbed the nearest book. "Daddy," she greeted cheerfully as Mr. Kola Ajayi walked in. "Ah, Zuri, still awake? What are you doing here?" "Just reading, Daddy." He smiled proudly, rubbing her head. "My little professor, come, let's take this pepper soup together before your stepmom-to-be starts shouting my name like a town crier." Zuri chuckled weakly and followed him, but her mind was racing. She couldn't let Eva hurt Daddy. She needed proof. The next day, luck favored her. Daddy had an emergency meeting at the office, and Eva left for bridal errands. As soon as the car disappeared down the street, Zuri dashed into Eva's room. The smell of perfume almost choked her. The room looked perfect. Too perfect. On the desk sat Eva's shiny silver laptop. Of course, it was locked. Zuri tried Eva 2025 wedding day, even Miss Ajayi. Nothing worked. Then, just as she was about to give up, she noticed a sticky note under a jewelry box. On it was a weird mix of letters and numbers. She tried it. The screen blinked and came alive. "Ha! So even evil people forget things," she muttered. She started clicking. Inside one folder labelled Personal, she saw files titled Ajayi Schedule, Policy Details, and one named Plan B. Zuri opened the policy details. A document popped up with plenty grammar she didn't understand, but her eyes caught one line. Open quote, "In the event of accidental death of the insured, Mr. Kola Ajayi, the beneficiary Eva Olainka shall receive 3.5 billion, close quote. Her throat went dry. They planned to kill Daddy for money. Then she saw another folder. Mark. Zuri's curiosity flared again. She clicked. Inside were pictures of Eva with a strange man. They looked too close for just friends. Some photos were taken in hotels, others in cars. Her eyes widened. Jesus of Nazareth. So Eva was not only a fraud, she was cheating too. But before she could process it all, she heard the crunch of tires in the driveway. Eva's car. Zuri panicked. She slammed the laptop shut, wiped the desk, and dove behind the couch, holding her breath. Eva entered, humming loudly, but paused. Her eyes scanned the room. Thought I locked this door," she muttered, walking around suspiciously. Zuri's heart was beating like a drum. After a long moment, Eva shrugged and left. Zuri exhaled shakily, creeping out of hiding. That night, as she lay in bed, she couldn't sleep. Her mind was on fire. She's planning to kill Daddy. What if it happens after the wedding? I can't keep quiet. By dawn, her decision was made. Even if nobody believed her, she would speak. The wedding day came like a dream. The church was packed. Drummers played softly outside. Everyone was smiling, except Zuri, whose little face was tight with worry. She watched Eva glide down the aisle, dressed in white lace and fake innocence. "God, please don't let my daddy die," Zuri whispered. The pastor started the ceremony, his voice echoing. Open quote. "If there is anyone here who has any reason why these two should not be joined together, speak now or forever hold your peace." Close quote. Zuri's heart pounded. Now or never. She stood up on shaky legs. Wait! The microphone squealed. The entire church turned to look. Gasps filled the air. Daddy, please don't marry her, Zuri cried, voice trembling but loud. She's lying to you. She wants to kill you. The congregation froze. Eva's smile vanished. Zuri, Mr. Kolobart, confused. What nonsense is this? It's not nonsense, Daddy, she sobbed. She and one man, Mark, are planning to kill you for your insurance money. I saw everything. Eva laughed, her voice dripping with fake pity. Oh my goodness, poor child. See how jealousy can make small girls talk rubbish. Zuri, darling, come here. This is not funny. But Zuri stamped her foot. I'm not lying. I saw your laptop. I saw your pictures with him. You even said, after the wedding we strike. The crowd began whispering. Phones were already out. Someone muttered, Ha! Another Nollywood plot! Cola's face hardened. Eva, is there anything you need to explain? Eva's eyes darted. Cola, you can't possibly believe this child. You know how kids imagine things. Then explain why my daughter would know the word insurance policy, he said quietly. Her composure cracked. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Cola, you know me. No, he interrupted. I thought I knew you. Zuri, sobbing, pulled out a flash drive from her pocket. Daddy, I copied it from her laptop. The document and pictures are there. The pastor blinked. This wedding has turned to investigative journalism. Someone in the back shouted, Check it! Let's know the truth! Mr. Kola took the flash drive from Zuri, inserted it into a nearby laptop and projected it on the screen meant for wedding photos. Gasps filled the hall. The pictures of Eva and Mark flashed one by one, romantic, secretive, guilty. Then came the document, the 3.5 billion clause. The hall erupted, Eva's face drained of colour. You don't understand. I understand enough, Kola said coldly. This wedding is over. Eva's calm snapped. Useless child, she screamed at Zuri. You ruined everything. Her voice echoed like thunder. Guests stepped back. Phones were recording. Kola stared at her in horror. So it's true. Before anyone could stop her, Eva turned and dashed down the aisle, lifting her gown as she bolted outside. Catch her! Someone yelled. She pushed through the crowd, leapt into her car and sped off, leaving dust and disgrace behind. Mr. Kola sank into a chair, covering his face. Tears gathered in his eyes as he looked at his daughter. Zuri, he whispered, voice breaking, you saved my life. She hugged him tightly. I just didn't want you to die, Daddy. Zuri leaned into her father's chest. Daddy, next time, don't marry anyone that looks like those wicked aunties in Yoruba movies. Kola chuckled weakly, wiping his tears. I promise, my baby, from now on, you'll help me choose. And as the church slowly emptied, one thing was clear. Zuri wasn't just an 8-year-old girl. She was the sharp-eyed little angel who saved her father from marrying death itself. The murmuring inside the church died down the moment 2 police officers walked in. Their presence alone carried weight, tall, firm and serious, their shoes clicking against the tiled floor like a judge's gavel. All eyes shifted to Mr. Kola Ajayi, the groom who only moments ago had been preparing to say, I do. Good afternoon, sir, one of the officers said, stepping forward. Are you Mr. Kola Ajayi? Kola, who had been sitting beside his 8-year-old daughter Zuri, stood up, one hand still resting protectively on her shoulder. Yes, that's me. What's going on, officer? I'm Officer Musa, and this is my partner, Officer Damilare, he said in that firm police tone that made everyone straighten up. We need to ask a few questions about what happened here today. The once celebratory church was now dead silent. People's eyes darted from Kola to the officers, to the broken flowers and half-dropped cake at the altar, remnants of what was supposed to be a perfect wedding. As Kola began explaining what led to the commotion, Zuri's attention drifted toward the church door. There was shouting. A man with a sharp scar across his eyebrow was forcing his way inside, looking like he had swallowed pepper soup without knowing. Zuri's eyes widened. She grabbed her father's sleeve and whispered urgently, Daddy. That's him. That's the man I saw on Auntie Eva's phone. That's the one she was talking to. Kola's heart skipped. He turned quickly and saw the man. His face changed instantly from confusion to anger. "Officers," Kola said, pointing toward the door. "That man, my daughter just recognized him. I believe he's connected to this whole mess." Before the words even finished leaving his mouth, Officer Damolari sprang into action. "You there! Stop right now," he commanded. The scar-faced man froze like a goat caught eating yam, then suddenly turned and bolted out of the church. Damolari gave chase immediately, radioing back up. The guests gasped. Some women held their chests and began murmuring prayers. The once beautiful wedding had now turned into a full-blown police scene. Officer Musa turned back to Kola. "Sir, I think it's best if you and your daughter come with us to the station. We need your full statement and any evidence you have about this woman's activities." Kola nodded slowly. He looked like someone whose brain was trying to restart. "Of course, whatever you need." He turned to Zuri and whispered softly, "We're going to the police station, baby. You okay?" Zuri, though frightened, lifted her chin bravely. "Yes, Daddy. I want to help." Just then, Adi, Kola's best man, walked over. He placed a comforting hand on Kola's shoulder. "Guy, what do you want me to tell everyone? They're all confused." Kola rubbed his face. His heart was still racing. "Tell them. Just tell them to go home. Please. I'll explain later. I can't deal with this now." Ade nodded understandingly. "Don't worry, I'll handle it. You just focus on Zuri and clearing your name." As Kola and Zuri followed the officer out, they could hear Ade's calm voice addressing the crowd. "Please, everyone, calm down. The wedding is postponed. Go home and pray for the Ajayi family." The police car ride felt like a dream Kola couldn't wake from. Lagos traffic moved outside the window, people hawking gala and pure water, but to him it all looked blurry, like life was moving while his own had stopped. Zuri sat beside him, holding his hand tightly. She kept glancing at him, her small face serious, as though she'd become the adult. At the station, Officer Musa led them to a small room, plain walls, 2 plastic chairs, and a metal table that had seen better days. "Mr. Ajayi, please don't be alarmed," he said. "This is not an interrogation room. We just need peace to talk." Over the next few hours, father and daughter told their story. Zuri explained how Auntie Eva, the woman Kola was supposed to marry, had often spoken in secret phone calls, how she became harsh whenever Kola wasn't around, and how Zuri had seen a picture of the scar-faced man on her tablet. Kola filled in the rest, how Eva had pushed him to take life insurance, how she encouraged him to try dangerous activities like mountain climbing and deep-sea diving, which he hated. "I thought she was just adventurous," he muttered bitterly. "Turns out she was adventurous with my life." Officer Musa scribbled notes, his face grim. These people are professionals. You're not the first, sir, but you're lucky. Your daughter is sharp." Kola looked at Zuri, pride shining through the pain. "She saved my life," he said softly. A few hours later, Officer Damolari returned. "We caught the guy," he announced. "His name is Kunli. He cracked faster than a biscuit in tea. Apparently, Eva, whose real name was Sarah Ojo, was a known scammer. She and Kunli had been duping wealthy men across the country, but this time their plan went too far. They wanted Kola dead. They'd intended to stage an accident on their honeymoon, claim the insurance money, and vanish. As the truth sank in, Kola's shoulders slumped. "I don't believe this. I was ready to give that woman everything." Officer Musa looked up kindly. "Sir, don't beat yourself up. People like her are experts. They know how to play love better than Nollywood actors." Kola chuckled weakly through the pain. "She nearly won an Oscar in my life." Zuri reached for his hand. "It's okay, Daddy. We're safe now." That night, driving home, silence filled the car. The sound of distant Okadas buzzed through the window, but neither spoke. When they finally parked, Kola turned to his daughter. "Zuri," he began quietly, "I owe you an apology." She blinked. "For what?" "For not believing you. for letting that woman into our lives, for putting you in danger." Zuri smiled gently, wise beyond her age. "You just wanted us to be happy, Daddy. You didn't know. People like Eva are good at pretending." Kola's eyes glistened. "Still, I should have listened." She shook her head. "You're still the best dad in the world." He laughed softly and hugged her tightly. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, Zuri. I'll never doubt you again." They stayed like that for a long time, father and daughter, holding on to what truly mattered. Finally, Kola sniffed and said, "Now, how about we order one giant pizza, extra cheese?" Zuri grinned. "And suya on top?" Kola burst out laughing. "Deal. Tonight you're the boss." The next few weeks were like living inside a Nollywood series. There were police interviews, lawyers and reporters sniffing for gossip. Kola's name trended briefly on social media, wedding Wahala. Through it all, Zuri stayed strong. She kept reminding her father, "At least you didn't marry her." He'd laugh. "True, I dodged a whole bullet. Maybe even a rocket." But deep down, he remained grateful. Though Eva, or rather Sarah, had vanished, he knew one thing for sure. No matter how much life threw at them, he and Zuri would face it together. Each night before bed, Kola would tuck her in and whisper, "You and me against the world, remember?" And Zuri, half asleep, would smile. "Always, Daddy." Then weeks later, it was a bright Saturday morning. One of those calm Lagos mornings when the air smelled like fresh rain and roasted corn from the street. Mr. Kola Ajayi sat quietly in his kitchen, staring into his cup of tea like a man searching for answers inside Lipton. Across from him, Zuri, his ever-curious 8-year-old daughter, was busy balancing bread on her fork like she was performing a science experiment. The house was peaceful, but it was that kind of peace that came after thunder, heavy, quiet, and full of things unsaid. Then came a loud knock. "Aha, who's that one now?" Kola muttered, getting up. He opened the door to see Aid, his best man, standing with that mischievous grin he always wore. "Guy," Aid exclaimed, walking in like he owned the house. "You're looking too serious. This your tea, Seth. You day interrogate am or drink am?" Kola chuckled weakly. "Good morning, Aid. What brings you here so early?" "Early?" Aid scoffed. "It's almost noon, Ogre Bachelor." He dropped a small backpack on the counter and clapped his hands. "I came to save your life. You and Zuri need air. Real air, not this inside-house stress you're inhaling." Kola frowned. "Aid, we're fine. We're just trying to—" "No, you're not fine," Aid interrupted. "You've been sitting in this house every weekend since that so-called wedding turned to breaking news. It's time to shake off the dust. Let's go camping." "Camping?" Kola repeated as though the word itself offended him. "Yes, now. Real adventure. No phones, no drama. Just nature, fresh air, roasted fish and peace." Adi grinned, clapping Zuri on the shoulder. "Abi, what do you say, small madam? You like camping?" Zuri's eyes brightened instantly. "Will there be fishing?" "Of course," Ed replied. "We'll catch fish big enough to feed the whole estate." Zuri squealed. "Daddy, please. Can we go? Please now." Kola looked at her hopeful face, something he hadn't seen in weeks. Her joy alone melted every argument in his chest. He sighed. "Okay, let's do it." Aid pumped his fist in victory. "Yes, I knew it. Pack your things, a go-be movie." They left early the next morning, Kola, Zuri and A, driving out of the city, away from all the reporters, lawyers and nosy neighbours who still whispered about the wedding that never happened. By the time they reached the lakeside, the air smelled of wet earth and the sound of birds replaced the usual Lagos horns. Zuri's excitement was unmatched. She helped Ade pitch the tent, collected firewood, and even attempted to start a fire. She nearly burned her shoelace, but that's beside the point. Kola found himself laughing again, genuine laughter that reached his chest. That night, under a sky full of stars, they roasted corn and suya, swapping stories around the fire. Ade told dramatic tales about his camping skills, half of which were clearly lies, but they laughed anyway. Zuri leaned against her father, munching roasted plantain, her face glowing in the firelight. "Daddy?" she said softly. "Yes, baby." "Are you still sad about Auntie Eva?" Kola looked into the flickering flames. "I'm sad that I didn't see her for who she was sooner, but I'm not sad anymore. You saved me, Zuri." She smiled and whispered, "We saved each other." And for the first time in a long while, Kola slept soundly. No nightmares, no guilt, just peace. 6 months later, life slowly began to find rhythm again. Zuri started a new school, made friends, and became the class monitor, mostly because she was the only one who could silence the noisemakers without shouting. Kola started seeing a therapist, something Aid forced him into, and little by little he learned to breathe again. He began smiling more, cooking again, singing in the bathroom, off-key, but it was progress. Everything seemed normal, until one quiet afternoon when the doorbell rang. Kola opened the door and froze. A police officer stood there, hat in hand, serious-faced. "Good afternoon, Mr. Ajayi. I'm Officer Musa. May I come in?" Kola's heart skipped. "Officer, is something wrong?" The man stepped inside, his voice gentle but heavy. "We found Eva." Kola's mouth went dry. "You arrested her?" The officer shook his head. "No, sir. We found her body." Kola blinked. "Body?" "She was discovered in a guest house near Ibadan. Appears she took her own life. She left a note." For a moment the world felt distant. The sound of ticking from the wall clock grew louder. "She's dead?" Kola whispered. "Yes, sir," the officer said softly. "She said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore." Just then Zuri came bouncing downstairs, clutching her toy rabbit. "Daddy, who is that? What's happening?" Kola's lips trembled. "Zuri, come here, love." They sat on the couch, and Officer Musa explained gently, skipping the painful details. When he left, father and daughter sat in silence. Zuri finally spoke. "Do you think she was really sorry, Daddy?" Kola exhaled slowly. "I don't know, my dear. People are complicated. Sometimes they hurt others, then regret it later. But life must move forward." Zuri leaned against him. "I'm glad we're okay." He smiled faintly. "Me too." Over the next few months, they both attended counseling together. Kola learned to forgive himself. Zuri learned that even heroes, like her father, can make mistakes. Kola started reconnecting with old friends. He joined a reading club, even tried cooking jollof rice again. It came out like stew mixed with porridge, but at least he tried. Zuri found a new hobby, detective books. "Daddy," she said one day, grinning proudly, "I think I'll become a detective when I grow up. I already caught one criminal." Kola laughed till his sides hurt. "Ah, Zuri, the great investigator. I'll be your assistant." 1 year later. It had been a full year since that dramatic wedding. Instead of avoiding the memory, Kola decided to create a new one. He packed food, mats, and juice boxes. "Where are we going?" Zuri asked as they entered the car. "You'll see." They drove to a quiet park, one filled with flowers, trees, and a small lake. They spread a mat and began their picnic. As they watched the sunset, Kola turned to his daughter. "You know, Zuri, I've been thinking, that whole experience with Eva, it was painful, but it also taught me something." "What's that?" she asked, nibbling on Puff Puff. He smiled, brushing a stray curl from her face. "It taught me that love isn't about who you marry. It's about who you wake up to every day and thank God for." He poked her gently in the chest. "And that's you, my little girl. You're my real blessing." Zuri beamed, hugging him tightly. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, my detective," he whispered, kissing her forehead. As they packed up and drove home, the Lagos sky glowed orange and pink. Zuri soon drifted off to sleep in the back seat, her small head resting against the window. Kola glanced at her through the mirror and smiled. Life hadn't gone the way he planned, but maybe, just maybe, it had gone the way it was meant to. Because in the end, he didn't get the bride. He got something far more precious, a daughter who saved his life. And that, truly, was his happily ever after. Moral lesson. Family isn't built on perfection. It's built on love, loyalty, and forgiveness. Sometimes the people who promise forever are the first to disappear, but true love stays, even in silence. Pain can break you, but if you let it, it can also rebuild you into something stronger. When life burns your bridges, maybe it's just teaching you to walk your own path. Hello, besties. If this story touched your heart, tell me. What would you have done if you were in Mr. Cola's shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments in your own language. And don't forget, like, share and subscribe for more heart-melting African stories that remind us that love, no matter how broken, can still be beautiful.